Good morning. It's Tuesday, April 14th, and we're going to continue our discussion on all the stuff in our life. And I'll present an alternative framework for taking stock of that. The prompt from the Daily Stoic was, do I balance my life better than my business's balance sheet? So after Seneca's father-in-law lost his job running Rome's prestigious granary, Seneca reminded him, believe me, it's better to produce the balance sheet of your own life than that of the grain market. So many of us are familiar with looking at our company's balance sheets as the quarterly earnings come out, or even staying on top of our own personal financial balance sheet. And we ask ourselves questions like, do I have enough assets to cover my liabilities, both in the short term and in the long term? Do I have the necessary liquidity? What is my net worth? And we can more broadly extend this concept to the construction of a life balance sheet. And what Seneca is saying is that this is ultimately more rewarding than a business's balance sheet, as it's indicative of our ability to live a good life. So if we take this analogy further and we define that an asset provides future value or benefit or increases our equity, in terms of a life balance sheet, these are the areas that you choose to invest in order to build a better life for you or your loved ones in the future. So the reality is that we only have so much to invest in terms of time, money, energy, and so it's critical that we intentionally select our asset classes. Remember, essentialism talks about we need to live life by design, not by default. So some of those asset classes that we might consider might be things like education and knowledge, skills and expertise, relationships and family, good physical health, productive habits, positive character traits like grit, confidence, integrity, positive emotions like gratitude, stillness, happiness, purpose, like doing meaningful work or being of service to others. And certainly we need to consider our financial assets and the allocation, as these do play a critical role into this analysis, and we need to analyze these and make sure that we're planning for them. But on the other hand of the balance sheet, the other side, we have our liabilities, which are our future obligations. And these reduce our liquidity and our ability to live a good life. So in many cases, these can be thought of as the opposite of many of those asset classes that we listed. I mean, examples would be like bad habits of smoking or overeating or sleep deprivation or inexperience, poor physical health, lack of skills, negative relationships with frenemies or toxic familial relationships or coworkers, negative character traits like greed, envy, negativity, negative emotions like anger, fear, frustration, having a lack of purpose in life. And again, we also have to consider our real financial liabilities, as these do have a critical impact on our overall well-being and ability to live a good life. But just like with a financial balance sheet, if we subtract the liabilities from the assets, then we get to our life net worth. And it's important to realize that this analysis is just a snapshot in time. We have the ability to change it. And so if it's not where you want it to be, then we have to look for ways to increase your assets and decrease your liabilities. And the good thing is that liabilities in this case can easily be transformed into your assets. Once we're aware of what they are and we put a plan in place to address them, and then a plan in place to hold ourselves accountable. So at the beginning of the year, I went through this exercise, and to be perfectly honest, I was not satisfied with what I saw. So I defined what my goals were going to be, and I put a plan in place to go ahead and improve the standing of my balance sheet, and then ultimately set up meetings with myself at mid-year and at the end of the year to see how I'm sticking to that plan and where I need to make adjustments. So we need to assess routinely, have my assets increased? Have my liabilities decreased? And certainly, equally as important, let's ensure that our liabilities are not increasing. And ultimately, this is going to allow us to take stock of how we're trending and to see if over time we're improving our assessment of what our life's worth is, and help us to lead a more productive, more fulfilling, and ultimately more rewarding good life. Hope you found that interesting. Have a good one. Bye.